All right, guys, we're going to be working on the E30 tonight and the rest of the weekend, maybe. Um, in the intro video to this, we talked about how it had a sunroof leak. And that was going to be one of the first things we tackled, and it is. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what's causing that problem. To be honest, when we bought the car, we didn't even open the sunroof. Kind of dumb, but we just liked the car and the guy said it worked, so it moved a little bit, but we didn't fully open it. We didn't inspect it like we were supposed to. So what we ended up with when we got home and unwrapped our present was this thing. So you can see a little bit of the cancer in here. They had a piece of duct tape over the top of that, and really that wasn't stopping the water, but that was the cause of the leak in here. So we're gonna work on tackling that. We're going to take the black piece off there, take some of the other rail off, dig in and see if we can get to the edges, take care of most of the rust that we can, do some sanding, wire brushing, all that stuff, get it going. We'll probably do a little bit down in these corners too. This one's not the worst, but the corner on the other side, on the driver's side, is a little worse. We're going to do all that. We've chosen to just go the Bondo route on this thing because we don't want to drop the original headliner. We obviously can't cut metal out and weld with it in there because it'll end up getting, catching the whole car on fire. So that's not good. But that's what we're going to do with this thing. So we'll start taking those parts off, dig under there, start cleaning it out. We'll show you the steps along the way on how to get the Bondo mixed up, how to prep the area, all that kind of stuff. And since this is our first time doing it, hopefully it works out all right.
So we down to the point where we can get to all the rust, and we had to move this whole bar for the sunroof. That's the wire. Got a little mini wrench holding that there, but you can see down in there, that's the rust. Goes a little further back, but should be able to at least get all the rust out. And then we're going to start filling it up and to show kind of our stuff we got. Got wire brushes. I just watched a couple videos on this, found a good way to do it. And this whole way we're doing it isn't like a forever fix, because to do that you'd probably want to weld something. But we don't want to weld anything because there's the headliner under there. But we just don't want to weld because we don't want to try to get that out, rip something or mess something up. So we're just doing this fix. Should hold for quite a while because it's not as exposed to the elements. It gets water on it through the sunroof. But this should work pretty good. But to kind of show what we got a body repair kit. This has like the Bondo type thing in it, and this hardener, and this came in it. And this is like, you kind of put under it and it kind of holds it there, so it has something for this to sit on. And wire brushes, some sandpaper, a little block to put the sandpaper on. Got some red spray paint and a little spreader. And that's all the stuff we needed to buy. I mean, that's pretty much all you would need, sandpaper and stuff. So that's what we're gonna be using, and we'll get right into that.
Okay, so we talked about that hole on the other side and showed you that. I mentioned that there was some rust over here in this corner where the drain hole is. And came over here, pulled off the same thing, pulled that black piece off the top, used a wrench right here to wedge this up. Same gooey junk under this side that they had on the other side, I guess, to try to seal something. So I started wire brushing over here just to prep this up because we were going to plan on bondoing it anyway. And as you can see, right to the bottom left of that drain hole is another little tiny hole. So we're going to continue to prep this side, and we'll go ahead and Bondo this side up too and make sure that there's no hole there that's causing a problem with the leak. And like I said, try to get this thing as good as we can. First time ever Bondoing up a car. And then we'll tape it off and paint it, and hopefully it'll look nice. Here we are using the wire brush. We're going to hit it with that first. just knock all the big pieces and parts off. And then once we're done with that, we'll transition to some sandpaper and see where we get with that. Just trying to clean it up the best we can. We're not going to get all the rust out, but we'll get as much as we can, definitely all the loose stuff.
So I was in here, you can see, I'm getting the bare metal now, slowly getting it down. So I was using that little like folded up piece of sandpaper because it's kind of a tight spot. But then I started using a Dremel. My dad did let me use it and told me how to use it a little bit. But that's doing way better. I might still need the sandpaper to get kind of further up in there. But this Dremel is just doing it way quicker, getting the actual bare metal. I would recommend a Dremel if you have one, instead of just using plain old sandpaper.
So we're done with the prep on these. Like I said, we've got this part over here, and when I showed you before, it didn't quite look like there was as many holes as there are now. But after we got the wire brush out, got the Dremel out, which we had to upgrade to just because it's so tight you can't really get some sandpaper in there and move it around too much. So we used the little grinding wheel on the Dremel, and we ground this out. Definitely you can see where there's more holes, but we got this pretty well prepped, wiped down, sanitized. We did sandpaper, Dremel, wire brush. The wire brush was the last thing, just get some grooves in the metal there a little bit for some texture for the Bondo. But that's the piece, this side of it. So here on this side, you can see by the time we got done, there's a pretty decent hole in there. We got the sight prepped out, got all up underneath there so you can see where the edges are. Good thing we picked that silver piece up so we could get under there and find the edges. We know that the back side of the metal may have some rust on it too, but we're just doing what we can without tearing the whole headliner out. But that's where this side is. So we're gonna get some of that mesh that came, like that backing mesh that came with our little kit. We're gonna, somehow get that worked in behind there to add some more structure. And then, slather some good Bondo on top of that. Nothing too crazy, but give ourselves some thickness to work with the sanding. And we'll show you how all that works. So wish us luck.
All right, so we got the kind of hole in there good. So we used the Dremel, sandpaper, and the wire brush, and then at the end, the video I watched, the guy said to wipe it down with like a sanitizing wipe. So we got a Clorox wipe this one down, wipe that one over there down. But now I got this little piece I've had to cut. You gotta do a decent amount of cutting, especially if you're in a tight space like this and can't get behind it. So I'm gonna see if this fits. All right, so got this little thing, whatever this is, in there, and pretty good fit. I mean, I could have cut it a little better, like up there on the top there's a little gap, down there's a gap. That gap was to put it around that little like peninsula right there, but good enough. And since this spot you can't get under it again, I have a fishing leader, like a metal leader, and I took the hook, bent it, and so then you come down here, I would like hook it around and then pull up on the things, because before I was shoving it in, so it's just on the bottom little like headliner, but then when I pulled it up, it's now pretty flat with the metal. So now we're gonna go on to putting on the actual body filler, and you'll see that next. So we're mixing our body filler and the cream hardener. It says here, somewhere in there, so for this stuff, put a 3-inch diameter circle, 1/2 inch thick, and then get this, and then just kind of put a line over the top of it, and then you should be good to start mixing, and it should come out right. So we got this thing to kind of scoop these out. You think that's good? Or a little more?
No, that's, a tad more is fine, but that's pretty close. site
That
was.
was display.
Alright, I'm gonna put a little bit of that hardener in it. Don't put too much, because the more of that you put in, the faster it's gonna set. So, yeah, that's good. Yeah, there you go. Alright, now start mixing, and I remember I said I only got about, what?
3 to 4 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so we're back down here after we let this dry. I think I put a little too much on there, like it's a little too thick, but I'll just have to sand it down. It might take a little longer. But that one, I haven't done anything to. If you come over on the other side, up here, I started to sand it. I used the Dremel because I had one big high piece like right there. So I used the Dremel to take that down. Now I'm using 80 grit sandpaper, which is what it tells you to use. And it says use 80 grit, and then on the edges, use like 180 grit or something like that. But that's what it looks like after a little bit of sanding. And then show you what it looks like once we're towards painting it. Alright, so this is kind of after sanding. So you see like there's some divots, but if you're in a little bit bigger of a space and you have room, you want to make sure it's just all flat so you don't have any divots, stuff like that. And I think we put a little too much, which isn't too bad, just we had to sand a lot. But like this edge here, there's like a little spot right there where I would like it to be a little more smooth, but I used 150 grit sandpaper on it and it wasn't going down. I used the Dremel a little bit, and I even used the 80 grit sandpaper, and it just wasn't flattening it out. And same with this edge, you can see it a little bit more. It's just not that flat, or not as flat as you want it. That side's a little better, but also up here, got a decent amount of divots going, but I don't think they're gonna hold too much water. And I don't think it's gonna be too big of a problem. And then in here, I got a little bit of the stuff in there, but I got a Dremel and changed the bit to a thinner bit and kind of got that all out. So we got this all taped up now. See a little spot in there. And then all gift wrapping paper. Try to make sure we get no paint ever anywhere else. And then this side, see this side got in there? Spray paint in there. And that's kind of what our paint job's looking like. We got the first layer on. It's not perfect, we're gonna do multiple coats. That's just a little look at it. I think it'll come out half decent for the first time. See this other side. I mean, it's probably not perfect, and we could have done a little better based on the video I saw, but kind of a tight space. The body filler was hard to spread in there because it was a tight space. I think it's gonna work, and I hope it works, but that's the first layer on both sides. We only did one. And we'll let this dry and then do another coat. I don't know how many we're gonna do in total, but that's how it looks. We're done painting now. We already put all the stuff back together. The paint is a little lighter. We just eyeballed it because it is in this tray. No one's really looking here. But we even put a little grease on the track and try to see if that would help it out. Because, I mean, it closes and opens, but maybe that'll make it a little smoother. But we have a concern about right here where I put this stuff, how it's a little higher than everywhere else. That the whatever like wheel thing isn't going to be able to fit through there, but we'll see when we close the sunroof. That's how it looks on this side. Come over to this other side. We don't really have to worry about it because we weren't really close to the track. And there, this side wasn't as smooth as the other side, but I feel like the paint filled in some of the little bubbles. But as that painted, So this side looks pretty good. And now we're just gotta see if it closes. We're seeing if it closes now. No. So after it didn't close, we took the stuff off for the sunroof. We took it back off. Got up under there. I just used sandpaper, and I sanded it down back level, or back to a good enough level that it could close. We put the stuff back on. It closed. Then we taped it off. Did one coat of paint just so it would have a little bit of protection, and that was all we did for that little part. So here we're I think we're done. I mean, the sunroof closes and opens, but as far as I know, we're done. That's how it looks. When we painted that, or had to like sand it down and paint it again, we didn't take this off. We just taped it off. So, kind of see there. There wasn't any bare metal. It was just some of the body filler was exposed. I think it'll be fine. But that's how that side looks. Paint, half decent. It's not perfect. You can see like it bubbles up, or not bubbles up, but it's like a lifted up from the regular metal, but I think it'll be fine, especially when you're driving and there's water in there. It'll just kind of run over it. And then on this side, I actually poured a little water on this side because we haven't painted it since yesterday, so it's fully dry. And it still does, like up here, it runs down, goes in the hole. Up here, it goes in the hole, or it goes all the way back down to the back. And there is another drain back there, but I'd say it's looking half decent, and we're probably done. So this was a day later. It started to rain, so I went outside to check if my car was leaking because my car was parked outside this day. And I went out there, felt the carpet where the water usually leaks down to. It didn't leak at all, or there was no water down there, and there was no line of water. I couldn't see any water from where it usually leaks or where it usually goes. So I think we successfully fixed the water leak.